Hey guys, welcome back. Today is video number 4 in the 5-part series on resistance training, and today's video is exercise selection. So in this video I'm going to explain to you the basic movement patterns. I'm going to show you an example program and how to set it up. Also how to make it a bit more goal specific, and there's a few things written down here on the right hand side that you want to take into consideration when designing your program. So the first thing is movement patterns. And the reason you want to incorporate all these patterns into your program is just so that you have a well-rounded program. Okay, so we're going to start from the top. So the top is the hip hinge. So this would be like the deadlift or the kettlebell swing or some single leg variations of those. And this is going to work down the back side. So hamstrings down the back of your legs and your bum. The next is the squat. So the squat pattern just straight up and down. Obviously squats, lunges, side lunges, anything like this. Anything that's going to be focusing more on the front side, so the quads. Next is horizontal pushing. So this would be lying down, any kind of chest pressing or single arm pressing or even push-ups. And this is going to work obviously the chest, that's the front side. Horizontal pulling. This will be things like barbell rows, Pendlay rows, anything when you're pulling the bar into you, which will work your back. Vertical push. So things like shoulder press, so just pressing straight above your head. This is a shoulder press, dumbbell press, barbell press. So anything pushing straight up, this is going to be working more the shoulders. Vertical pull, this will be things like pull-ups, lat pull down. Anything you're pulling down, again, this is going to be working more down the back. And then we have isolation. So isolation, obviously not a movement pattern, but this is where we're going to incorporate things like bicep curls, lat raises, and we'll stick core work in there as well. So as you can see, by incorporating all of these things, this is going to give you a well-rounded program. So before we go into the actual program, we're going to come over to the right-hand side where it says compound first. So compound first means compound exercise first. And if you're not sure what a compound exercise is an exercise that uses multiple joints at once. So for example, if you wanted to do a compound exercise for your quads, you would use a squat, as it uses your ankle joint, your knee joint, and your hip joint, compared to a leg extension, which would just utilize the knee joint. So the leg extension would be considered an accessory movement, and the squat would be considered a compound movement. So a compound exercise usually goes at the start of a program, just because it gives you the biggest bang for your buck. So if you wanted, for example, work your quads, this is going to be a lot more taxing, and it's going to drive a bigger stimulus to grow your quads and create more strength than a leg extension would. So you always want to stick the more taxing and the things that are going to drive the biggest stimulus to the muscle at the beginning of the workout while you're freshest. Okay, so as you can see over here, this is why the big movements are all stuck first. So this is an example program. So this is a typical 3-day split. So this is an upper body push one day, an upper body pull the next day, and legs. So these are 3 separate workouts. So as you can see in this example program, all of the movement patterns have been hit in this 3-day program. So we're split up into 3 days. So we have an upper body push. So this is going to incorporate the horizontal push and the vertical push. The upper pull is going to incorporate the vertical pull and the horizontal pull. And the legs is going to incorporate the hinge and the squat. And then there's also going to be isolation movements stuck into the end of the workouts. Okay, so as you can see on the upper body push, we have barbell bench press. So this is a compound exercise for the chest. We have dumbbell shoulder press. This is a compound exercise for the shoulders. And then we're going to finish off, you've got some dumbbell flies. And you also have lateral raises and tricep extensions. So this is going to be using, so mainly the chest, shoulders, and the triceps for the upper body push day. The next is the upper body pull day. So I'm going to start with pull-ups. This is a compound movement for the back, along with a barbell bent over row. So this is where you're going to be getting your pull-up is your vertical pull, and your bent over row is your horizontal pull. And then you come down here to more of the accessory movements again, with the cable pull downs, face pulls, and barbell curls. So this program is going to be working on the back and the biceps. Then we come over to the legs. So we have compound again, is the barbell front squats. So this is going to be taxing the quads. So this is your squat. And then you have the barbell RDLs. So this is your hip hinge. Again, a compound exercise, which is to be working on the back of the legs and the bum. And then we come down here to the more accessory movements with the leg extension, leg curl, and calf raise. So again, this is just accessory movements for the legs. and then we've got a plank in at the end as just a core exercise. So this is just one way you can set up a program, but you can see how it goes from the compound exercises. So get the really hard things done out the way to start with, once you've got the most energy, and that will drive the most stimulus to your body, and then you can start finishing off with the more of the accessory movements at the end. Okay, but if you're going to make it goal specific, so for example, if you're a power lifter works with 3 lifts. So they work with a hip hinge, a deadlift, they work with a squat, and they work with a horizontal push, which is the bench press. So a power lifter is very, very extreme case, and they work with just 3 different exercises for their competition. So they would want to be working 2/3 to 3/4 of their lifts want to be those 3 lifts. So that's how specific you can get, but that is in a very extreme case. But just think about your goal. So if your goal is, for example, to have a big ass, you want to be one of those Instagram ladies, and you look in here, you've literally got one thing to be growing that ass. So you've got barbell RDLs and maybe something from the front squats, but not very much. So you've got one exercise to grow that ass. So if your goal is a big ass, you're going to want to get a few more things in there that's going to tax the glutes. So just think about your goal. If you want a big chest, then add a few more things in that's going to grow the chest. So try and make it goal specific from the start. Okay? And another thing, once you do get a program in place, don't change it up too much because of the neuromuscular adaptations. So your brain and all your wiring is going to be getting used to the movements before your muscles start getting used to the movements. So the initial gains will come from you just getting used to that skill. So if you start getting used to that skill, your brain starts getting used to that skill, and then you change, your muscles don't have time to get used to it. So keep going for a longer period of time so that you actually start taxing the muscles and not just the neuromuscular system. Okay? And then over here we have things like mechanics. So for example, so if you have long femurs, so if the top part if your thigh bone is really long, you may not be set up very well to do a squat. So just take your own mechanics into account as well when you're designing your program. So for example, if you do have a long thigh bones and you try squatting and it hurts your back, you just don't feel it's very good for you, just because someone says squats are the best, doesn't mean it's the best exercise for you. So take your mechanics into it as well. Full range of motion, so this is your full range of motion, so try and take the muscles through the full range of motion they have. So for example, in a squat, if you can get ass to grass with no problem, back straight without your pelvis tucking under, then get ass to grass, because this will give you the most strength and will build the most muscle. So this has been proven in research, so try and take the muscles through full range. Okay. Also, the mind-muscle connection. So this is an actual thing, so if you can put the mind in the muscle, then you can actually activate more of the muscle. So for example, in a bench press, if you're really thinking about your chest, then you can actually activate more muscle fibers while going through the motion. But this is limited, so if you get up to around 80% of your 1 rep max, so this is dealing with very heavy weights, you're not going to get any more benefit about thinking about it, because the weight is so heavy, all the muscles are going to activate. So this is really good for kind of the accessory movements. So try and put the mind in the muscle for more of the accessory movements. Once you're going very heavy with these more compound lifts, it's not really going to matter too much, because the muscles just will activate because you are lifting so heavy. Okay? And then remember RPE plus 5. So if you watched the previous video, you know that the RPE, or how intense your workout is, matters. So try and keep it fairly intense. So if you're not sure what I'm talking about, I'll link the RPE video just up here. But RPE is basically how intense your sets are or your reps are. So just make sure you are working with a decent amount of intensity to drive a stimulus to the muscle for the muscle to adapt from. Okay, and this is pretty much everything you need to know on exercise selection. As always, thumbs up, subscribe, and if you do have any questions, you probably will have questions on this, just drop them in the comments below and I'll get back to you. Cheers guys.